I just rewatched Naruto, and I wanted to make a video on all the characters that I really love that don't get much screen time, but definitely deserve a series of their own. Characters which a 1-minute clip in the show is enough to bring curiosity, admiration, and even respect just based on how the other characters often speak about them or are displayed via a flashback. So this video is just me expressing my inner love for these characters, which someone's gotta do, right? I think we got to start this video with the great Might Dai. Now I actually already made a video on him quite a while ago, but he's so goated, he deserves a mention in this video as well. Might Dai as a character is someone who I really look up to, a role model for the ages. Might Dai, for those unfamiliar, is the father of Might Guy, and he received a total of 2 episodes in the entire show, and those 2 episodes I find myself rewatching over and over again. Might Dai was essentially a loser to the entire Hidden Leaf village, but never in the eyes of the viewers. He was given the nickname as the Eternal Genin, and people laughed at him in the streets. However, what they didn't realize was Might Dai was actually one of the most powerful shinobis in the entire village. He has spent his entire life mastering the 8 inner gates in order to pass it on to his son to give him a fighting chance at defending what was important to him. You see, in the show, Might Dai passes on a valuable piece of advice, which was, true victory isn't about winning against someone strong, it's about defending what's important to you. And it took me a little while to understand this, but Might Dai took the humiliation he received from the other villagers, and even though he acted oblivious to it, he wasn't. And he did so because this was never Might Dai's true victory. His true victory was defending his son, Might Guy, which he ended up doing by paying the ultimate price, which was his life. Now the next character I want to talk about is the White Fang of the Leaf, aka Kakashi's father, Sakumo Hatake. Now his story is something I replay in my head over and over again, and each time the sadness inside me grows even stronger. If you don't know much about his character, Sakumo was a top level ninja, even rumored to be as strong as the legendary Sannin. However, on one mission, Sakumo was met with a difficult choice: complete the mission or save his comrades, and Sakumo put the mission on hold to ensure the safety of his comrades. Now Sakumo was truly a kind person. He knew the consequences of his actions. He knew he would be blamed and be held responsible for abandoning the mission. However, he still chose to save his friends, knowing all of this. Now what really stuck to me was, even the people he saved that day blamed him for abandoning the mission. The grief and the dishonor from the village was too much for Sakumo, and he ended up taking his own life, which just goes to show you, no matter how strong and feared Sakumo was, there's some struggles even the strongest need help to overcome. Sakumo was buried away from the other fallen shinobi as a sign of disgrace, and what really gets to me is, what was Sakumo going through right before he decided to end his life? You see, Sakumo was a widow and had lost his wife when she was still young, and he still had a young son, Kakashi, to take care of, so he had no one to turn to for help since the entire village hated him. The sadness in his heart must have been unbearable. Now what really secures a spot for Sakumo as truly a legend in my eyes is when Kakashi dies against pain and Kakashi briefly is able to see his father. However, his father hadn't gone to the afterlife. Sakumo felt like he didn't deserve to rest, and only after Kakashi forgives him was Sakumo set free and allowed himself to go see his wife in the afterlife. Sakumo wanted Kakashi's forgiveness because he had left Kakashi all alone. However, not for 1 second did he regret his actions on the mission, and he would have chosen to save his comrades again if time was reversed. Now on to the next character I want to speak about, the 3rd Raikage, someone we only briefly get introduced to in the 4th Great Ninja War, but that was enough to secure him as a top contender as one of my favorites. The 3rd Raikage was so strong, it was frightening. He had both power and speed, the strongest offensive and defensive moves. He was pretty much unbeatable, but that's not what sold him to me as a character. You see, when he was reanimated, the first question everyone asked on the battlefield was, how did he even die in the first place? Well, he had probably the most epic death in all of Naruto, which was, in order to let his men get away from a battle, the Raikage faced 10,000 shinobis all alone and lasted 3 days and 3 nights in order to give his comrades enough time to escape. escape, and only after his shinobis were safe was the Raikage killed, and that was probably due to fatigue and exhaustion. Do you even comprehend how impressive a feat that is? Now, it's not stated how much of the 10,000 he took down, but remember, he lasted 3 days, so it's pretty much safe to say that he took a big chunk of them down with him. And remember, he was also known to be the only person to go head to head with a tailed beast with just strength alone. This guy was a monster, and testament to this, the only time he ever took damage was via his own attack, because only he was strong enough to injure himself. Just wow. I was just in awe when I heard that. I mean, he's the kind of person that man should tank a face-on Rasen Shuriken and still get up like nothing happened. And you have to factor in that he wasn't even at full power when he was reanimated, so his abilities are naturally not on par to when he was alive. So imagine how he was when he was alive. Incredible. Last but not least, Konan. Konan for me is such an underrated character, a character who is often forgotten about, as she is surrounded by characters who are usually taking the spotlight, one being Yahiko and the other being Nagato. When you think about pain, you don't usually associate it with Konan, even though she is the definition of it. She was an orphan growing up and lost her parents to the war. Later she met Yahiko and Nagato. However, as adults, Konan was captured by Hanzo and Yahiko sacrificed himself in order to free her, and it was strongly hinted that they had a romantic connection, so naturally she would blame herself for his death. Now, not only that, she had to watch her other friend, Nagato, give in to the pain from that day and become someone who she probably didn't even recognize, a person fueled by rage. Now, that isn't saying that Konan wasn't filled by rage either. However, Nagato physically and emotionally just became a shadow of himself, and in the end, she lost him as well. Konan was all alone, and she devoted the rest of her life to killing the person who had manipulated Nagato, which was Tobi/Madara/Obito. And she devised a plan to use 600 billion, yes, 600 billion paper bombs in order to take him down. That number is just insane. And the only reason she even failed was due to Tobi's Izanagi. So she died knowing that her plan had failed. I think Konan was such a cool and skilled character, and I would have loved to see more about her. These guys are the shinobi close to my heart and the ones I loved whilst watching Naruto, and honestly I would love to see more of them. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like this video and subscribe. Until next time.